So when we get tempted to the bait, we actually moving towards the rat trap. And once we caught in the rat trap, there is no way to come out. Like same in our life, there are many of the things which we are blindly following, and we are we are caught in the rat trap. So let's move to the text to know how the peddler tempted towards the bait and found himself caught in the rat trap. Thank you.
XII students, so today we will go through with the second part of the chapter, the rat trap. Rat trap means the instrument we use to trap the rat. Now, here are the characters of the chapter. The main character is Rattrap, the peddler, and Crofter, Edla Wilmanson, and the Iron Master. Now, the Rattrap seller. The Rattrap seller was a poverty-stricken person who is suffering with the poverty-stricken life. He is in rag clothes, very sunken cheeks, and hunger gleamed in his eyes every time he looks hungry. And by seeing his physical appearance, you easily guess that person is hungry, that person is feeling hungry. And for his survival and for his work, as he was making rat trap, so for making rat trap and the material he need, sometime he was not able to arrange the material for the rat trap, making of the rat trap. So for making of rat trap and for his own livelihood, sometime he is begging, and sometime he also involved in petty thievery, छोटी मोटी चोरी भी कर लेता था. And most of the time he was busy in making and selling rat traps. Rat trap seller was just like a tramp, vagabond, stranger, peddler. These words are used in the story to describe the rat trap seller. One day, when the peddler was selling the rat trap, one thought arises in his mind by seeing the rat trap, and that thought entertained him. He was just entertaining himself with that thought, and the thought is the whole world is a big rat trap with lands and seas, cities and villages. The thought which arise in his mind is that by selling the rat trap, the peddler realizes that actually the whole world is a kind of rat trap, and we people are like a rat, and the things which are available in this world, in this materialistic world, वो कुछ भी हो सकता है. Any kind of thing that attract us, that tempt us, all are the baits. वो baits कुछ भी हो सकते हैं, just like riches. If you are blindly following riches, or you want joy or happiness in your life, you want a good house, shelter, food, heat, clothing, anything in this world which is available or which we are tempted towards, that are the bait for us, as we are the rat who are following these things blindly. And once we go to the rat trap to by the tempting these things, rat trap is the world, we people are rat, and the things available in this world, in this materialistic world, that are played as a role of bait. So whenever we are tempted towards our feeling, our thought, emotions, anything which we want in our life, anything which we are very passionate to get that. So when we tempted towards at that moment, actually what we are tempted towards a rat trap. And once we uh, try to catch that bait, at the same time we trap in the rat trap, and then there is no way to come back. Now that all we read about the rat trap seller, the peddler, here is the crofter. A crofter was somebody who rented a small farm with a plot of land and living in a house on it. Crofter means a farmer who was farming on a rented small farm. एक छोटी सी जगह पे फार्मिंग करता है, and he was land and living in a house on it. A tenant farmer who paid his tenancy with manpower instead of cash. Now, lonely, without wife or children, welcome Rattrap seller, shared supper of porridge, shared tobacco, played mojolis. So one day when peddler was selling his Rattrap, uh, he was got very tired, and then he saw a cottage, and at that cottage he knocked, and when the room opened there was a crofter, and that crofter was all alone. He was living a solitude life. No one is in his life, neither wife nor children. And that crofter was very happy to see Rattrap seller, to see the peddler, as he was alone in the house. So he very warmly welcomed the peddler, as for the night he has a company. So it was a night time. So when he get his guest, when he welcomed his guest, to his guest he shared his supper of porridge which he made for himself, and then the tobacco, and both of them played majorless cards. The crofter was very generous and confident too, supported by his cow. Last month he got 30 kroner from creamery, showed his guest where he kept the money. And so while playing majoles, while playing the card, while conversing to the peddler, to peddler he shared his life history, what he is doing, how what work he is doing, how he earns his livelihood, how much money he has, and where that money he kept. All these things very openly he just say to the peddler. As he said that ki I have a cow, and with that cow is only source of earning, and last month I earned 30 kroner from the creamery. And then he also showed the guest, he also showed the peddler ki where I kept the money. And peddler was a poor, he was very poor, even to manage two time food for himself. So by seeing the amount where the crofter kept that amount, that money, a temptation arises in his mind towards the money, to steal that money. So in the next morning, when both of them get out from the house, crofter went for his daily routine work for the milk to cow, and then peddler to go for his selling, to go to sell his rat traps. Before leaving the house, there was a temptation arises in his mind towards that amount, towards that money, which was kept in the window, in the window pane. So from by moving from the house, at the back side of the house, peddler from the window, he just taken out the money from the pouch, that 30 kroner, and he stole that money. And after stealing the money, one thought arises in his mind ki if I took the way of the crowded way which goes to the city, may be the crofter follow me, or may anyone else guess that I have stolen him. So maybe I was caught down. But so he has decided to take away from the forest, so no one can guess me where I was. So he has taken the forest way. And listen, children, this is the bait. That 30 kroner rupees is the bait for the peddler. And peddler has done the mistake. He tempted towards the bait. He has catch that bait, and finally he was trapped in the rat trap. He was trapped in the rat trap when he decided to move from the jungle, to move from the forest way. Lost in big and confusing forest, strangely paths twisted and forth had been walking around the same path, the whole forest like impenetrable prison. And then what happened next? That large and confusing forest. That forest was very large, and the way the route is not clear to the peddler, so peddler found himself lost in that forest, and he was just taking a round and round of the forest, and again he reached to the same place from where he started. And finally he was very tired, and he found himself just like he was caught in the impenetrable prison. Impenetrable prison means the prison from where he was not able to come out. Fooled and caught by the bait, increased gloom and despair. And finally, he realized that he was always thinking that this world is a rat trap and the things present in the world all are bait. And now, that money, that amount which I have stolen from the crofter, that was the bait. And I think I finally trapped in the rat trap. So there was a gloom and despair, there was a sadness and disappointment in Peddler's life. And in that forest, at a distance, at a far distance, when the peddler was. So the peddler, while chasing the sound of a hammer, he reached towards a large plant. That plant is of iron ore that belongs to the Ramjo's iron mill. In that iron plant, iron rods are smelting, rolling down, and forge is using. So here is a process that will doing in that plant, that iron ore, as iron ore is used in that plant. So the work is done like smelting. Smelting is a process of applying heat to ore. Ore means the raw material for the iron to make the iron rods in order to extract a base metal. Rolling is a process in which metal is passed through one or more pairs of rolls to reduce the thickness and to make the thickness uniform. The concept is similar to the rolling of dough. So, rolling is the process ki when the iron ore is melted for the base metal, then it's go through with the process of rolling so that it becomes in a uniform thickness. And then after that rolling, it goes through the process of forging. Forging is a manufacturing process involving the shaping of metal. The blows are delivered with hammer. So forging is the last process of making the iron rods. That is the manufacturing process in which they are giving the shape to metal. So these are the works which was continuing doing in that iron mill. Now, at that night, when peddler reached to the iron mill, where the work of iron ore manufacturing, smelting, rolling, forging, this is going on, the peddler went to the fire to get warmness, as that was the winter time. The cold weather is there. So at that night, Iron Master arrives at the mill. Actually, the Iron Master every day arrives at the mill to take its night round to check the work process of its mill. So he came and saw that there was a tramp, there was a person, and that person he misunderstood as one of his friend, regimental comrade Niels Oluf. He misunderstood that peddler, that tramp, as one of his friend, and now he invited him to his manor house, and he gave the offer to that peddler, as he misunderstood that peddler as his own friend. So he invited him to his manor house, to his house, to celebrate Christmas. But the vagabond refused, thinking that it would be like voluntarily throwing himself into the lion's den, worried about the 30 kroner. By getting the chance to move in a good house, to stay in a good house, the vagabond, the peddler, refused it. He refused the offer of the Iron Master, because he was thinking that as he has stolen 30 kroner from the crofter, he is a thief, and the Iron Master is a wealthy person. So if I accept the invitation of Iron Master, in the way I myself volunteer to throw myself in a lion's den, because Iron Master was a wealthy person, he is a rich man, and this time he misunderstood, he not identified my virtual identity, my actual identity. But when he knew ki I am not his friend, so that time, and if my this uh, it also discovered ki I was a thief, I have stolen 30 kroner from the crofter of his mill. So maybe I was thrown into prison by this person. So if I accepted his invitation, so it might be the same way ki I myself throw myself in a lion's den. Now, when he rejected the invitation of Iron Master went to his house, and she said to his daughter Edla Wilmanson that he met one of his friend in the mill, but he rejected my invitation. So I request you to go to that mill and take that person to our house, as he was very poor in condition. So at least we have to give him a chance to celebrate the Christmas Eve, and by that we can also give him a kind of help.